Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Kellam. Welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. Faith in Action ministries are a part of the wider scope of the Broome County Council of Churches. And since 1996, Faith in Action has mobilized a network of volunteers to provide care partnerships in the greater Binghamton area. Today we have over 300 registered care receivers and over 100 registered volunteer caregivers. Faith in Action provides free, non-medical programs for people who are 60 and up, and volunteer opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds, whether you have an hour to spare each week or several. For over 2 decades, the Broome County Council of Churches has honored volunteers who've made outstanding contributions in sharing time and talent and building goodwill and serving our community in special ways. In the past, the annual Lives of Commitment breakfast brought hundreds of neighbors together to meet the honorees and thank them for their service. But in 2020, the pandemic made it impossible for us to gather in such large groups. However, this past April, though considerably scaled down, the Council held its 22nd annual Lives of Commitment breakfast at the Doubletree by Hilton in downtown Binghamton, with the event made available virtually on the Broome County Council of Churches website. Now today on Encounter, we can't offer you breakfast, but we can introduce you to this year's honorees. They are Hahn, Casler, and Ida Taft, and Dave Gouldin. We talked with all three and asked them about their experiences volunteering. First, we meet Faith in Action Volunteers honoree Hahn Casler. Kay's been volunteering for Faith in Action since 2012, providing transportation for those in need and also helping in the council's scheduling office each week.
Well, I work at the office at Faith in Action Volunteers, one morning a week, scheduling drivers for the clients. And then I also drive the clients to doctor appointments, to the grocery store, wherever they may happen to need to go, but those are basically the two things. Do some errands once in a while for somebody that can't drive or can't get out for themselves. I keep pretty busy with it.
I do probably about maybe 4 to 6 hours driving if I take a couple of clients, and then I'm in the office for 2.5 hours in the morning, one day a week. But people can take as many or as few rides or drives as they want. So it's very easy to schedule. It just depends on their schedule. If we call them and ask them if they can take somebody a certain day and they say no, they're not available, we'll say, well, might you be available another day, or what time is good for you? So it's very adaptable, very easy to coordinate with your own schedule. The St. James Food Pantry is probably the biggest one in the area, and it is very well used. We see lots and lots of clients that come in that are very needy and also embarrassed that they have to be there, that they don't have food. They may have lost their job recently, don't have any income yet. A big variety of things, and it's a very much needed. There are many food pantries in the area, so it tells you that it's very needed. Right. And of course, Chow is the big help in all of that. Our church is very responsive to donations to the food pantry, which is good. That keeps us busy. If clients aren't there, we always have lots to do with stocking shelves or whatever there is to need to be done. We do it. Yeah. It is a great joy. I love doing it. I've been doing this ever since I retired now. I've been doing more volunteering than I ever did before, and that's not unusual. When people have jobs, they don't often have the time to volunteer. But this, now I have the time and gladly do it, and have lots of friends that do, and wish there were more. When older people have health issues, possibly lose their independence because of not being able to drive any longer, they have a big gap in their needs, and being able to take them to doctor appointments or just to get groceries or shop for them is a big thing for them. And certainly you get repeated thank yous for it. It's a very needed thing in this area, with probably 50% of our population being seniors. We need to be able to help them. There was a lady that I was helping that I was getting her groceries for her for quite some time, and I would take her to doctor appointments occasionally. She had a car. She told me she did drive it occasionally, but not very far, and she passed away. I went to the wake to visit with the family, and they were astounded. They had no idea that she was receiving any services, and were very grateful that she had. And I told them, yes, I had been getting her groceries for quite some time. She didn't even go to the grocery store. She wrote an excellent list, very easy to shop from. And I took it to her, and they were very grateful for it.
Yeah. And you were touched by that?
Very touched, yes.
And you also work in the council office, you said?
Yes.
So that must be really difficult. Those are hard people to work with.
No, not at all, not at all. Sue's great to work with. She's very easy. Carol's in the office too. Paula is, I don't get to see her as often, but she's great too. And the only thing that's hard is some days the phone rings like crazy. Everybody's calling to get their name on the list to get a ride. So other than that, no, I don't mind it at all. It's great.
Yeah. Have you been able to encourage others within your church community or neighborhood, family to volunteer?
I've been trying. People probably want to back away from me because I keep trying.
Right.
But I think it's made a positive impact. I hope it has. And I hope they are volunteering in some way, even if it's not for our program, that they're volunteering in some way, because that does make a difference.
What's it feel like to be honored for your volunteerism?
Incredible. It really is nice. I'm very grateful that this is a video interview and I do not have to speak in front of everyone. That makes it great.
Right. So that's the Faith in Action Volunteers honoree, Hahn Casler, from this year's Lives of Commitment breakfast. The Broome County Council of Churches honoree is Ida Taft. She's been a volunteer for CHOW, that's the Community Hunger Outreach Warehouse, of course, for over 30 years. She runs the food pantry at her church, All Saints Episcopal Church in Johnson City. Ida says it's heartbreaking to know that people in our community are hungry. And she's well known for her positive attitude and the way she treats everyone with dignity and kindness.
I was in church one day, and right at the very end of church, I saw one of the ladies, and she had a list in her hand. We were sitting up in the balcony with the kids, and I said, "Joan, what are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm writing out a CHOW list. I'm writing, this out." And I go, "Well, what is that?" And she showed me what she was doing, and I said, "Perfect. This would be for me." I just, I have to. When my dad grew up, my dad didn't have a very good home life, and being born in the 30s, they were very poor, and he told me that when he was a kid, the neighbor next door would bake bread, and because my father didn't have a good home life, he had a stepmother that wasn't very nice to him, and the neighbor said, "Don't give anything to Gino because of his stepmother." And my father said, "I could taste that bread and nobody would give me any." He said, I still almost cry when I think of that, because my dad didn't have anything to eat. And I thought, what a kid doesn't have anything to eat? And I think of myself, and I'm fortunate, my husband had a good job, and we had food in our cupboards, and just the thought of my dad not having any food broke my heart. And people sometimes they come in and they're embarrassed, and I say, don't be embarrassed. That's why we're here to help you. Try to make them feel comfortable, and some people will tell me their stories of why they're here, and it's heartbreaking because I know, and you just try to make them feel comfortable, and just spend a little time and attention with them. It's
So you build a relationship.
You do. We've had some families that have been coming for quite a long time, and it's like, I don't even ask them. They know. They see my face, and they're like, "Hey!" And I'll get hugs, and I'll give hugs, and it's like sometimes I have one family that comes in, and he's a big burly guy, and I'll get a great big hug from him, and it's makes you feel really good. We each have a day. We're open from Monday to Thursday from 10 to 11. Our families come in, and so basically it's just an hour, but I'm the one that gets the puts the orders in when we have an order to put in, because we don't very often, because my family, let me tell you, my church family, they are so generous. All they do is say chow needs, and it's there. We have a basket when you first walk into the church, and people put food in the basket. We have a couple of families that will actually donate to a chow fund for our church, so I can go out and buy things if we run low. So we have an awesome church family. We have extra things that are given to us, like hats and gloves, and you get to know and you build a relationship with different people, and your heart breaks because you say, by the grace of God go I, and I'm so thankful that I am okay and my family's okay. And right now I'm on my 31st year.
Wow.
Yes. So I love it. I love it.
What would you say to issue a recruitment or an invitation to do some volunteer work?
Helps your heart. It really does. There's a need in the community, and there's just not enough volunteers, I'm sure, but all of us, if we all do our little part, we would have it all fixed. It's wishful thinking, but I would just love to see something like that.
Yeah. Have you done other volunteer work too?
I do. I volunteer at the Chow Walk. I've been giving out the T-shirts for mucho years. I was on the committee for the Chow Walk. I do a lot at church. I take care of the memorial garden outside, and I'm on our church vestry, and I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. What did you feel like when somebody called and said, we'd like to make you one of our volunteers?
I'm kind of like a behind the scenes person, and it made me proud. It made my kids proud and my grandkids. I can't put into words. It was just, I was thrilled.
That's the Broome County Council of Churches honoree Ida Taft talking about her work with Chow and the food pantry at her church, All Saints Episcopal Church in Johnson City. This week on Encounter, we're introducing you to the honorees from this year's Lives of Commitment Breakfast, sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. The community honoree is Dave Gouldin. He was born and raised in Binghamton, joined his father's law firm, Levine, Gouldin, and Thompson in 1966. Influenced by his parents' community service, he served on a variety of committees and boards, including the United Way, UHS, Binghamton University, and the Broome County Council of Churches. Dave is introduced here by his friend Penny Stringfellow and interviewed by his daughter, Lauren.
Well, I have known Dave Gouldin since I was, as his dear departed wife would say, a naughty teenager. He was one of my Sunday school teachers. My primary relationship with Dave is through our church, Tabernacle United Methodist. Dave's parents and then Dave and Dave's children have been part of our church family for decades.
I realized from watching my parents go through their adult life that volunteering in the community had been very important to their enjoyment of what they were doing, and so it motivated me to try and put in some time volunteering when I became an adult. And it certainly has paid off because I've derived a lot of pleasure from the work I've done for various community activities, and especially the Council of Churches.
When Dave decided to stay in this community and be part of his dad's law firm, he did a lot of volunteering in the church. And initially a lot of that was Sunday school and youth programs. So I got to know him at one level when I was 15, 16 years old. He was the cool youth director who drove a red convertible and took us all to the press building at the top floor where his office was, look out over the city. And then I got to know him in a very different way once I became a mom and became a youth director at the church myself. He's always had such a heart, especially for the youth. And I remember one story in particular that meant so much to me. One of our confirmation classes, it was actually a confirmation class that my son was part of, had about half church members and the other half were mostly young men from the community who had no church affiliation, and we fed them every Sunday night and we worked with them, and they made a decision to become members of the church. And Dave came into one of our meetings and he gave every single one of the young people in that room his business card and said, if you are ever stopped for any reason by the police, before you say anything, you call me. And I was so moved by that. Children of privilege who have parents have that option if they get into a scrape. These were kids that many of them did not have dads in the house, and that's just who he was.
I know it's hard not being able to get together with everybody for an event like this, Dad, so what's something you'd want to say to people if you were able to see them in person?
Well, I'd like to thank all of them for the experience they've given me in reaching out in the community. I think it was the fact that I was enjoying my interaction with them that made it particularly relevant and meaningful, and I am indebted to all of them.
I've also had the privilege of working with Dave in a professional venue. The agencies that I have worked for have been the advertising agencies for his law firm, and we had a little gathering at church once where we all took the Myers-Briggs test. Dave was convinced that he was meant to be in marketing, and sure enough the results of the test showed that he should in fact be in advertising. So it's been an ongoing joke because he has lots of advice to give as far as our marketing is for the firm, but he doesn't seem to want to take any of my legal advice. Dave's a great, loyal friend, dad. His wife, Debbie, was one of my dearest friends, and losing her, I know, was quite a blow for him. They were quite a couple, married for over 50 years. I think Dave is one of those people in the community that just about everybody knows, and just about everybody has something great to say about him. One of the attorneys who works with him said to me, you know, for me, Dave Gouldin will always be the Michael Jordan of law. And I think Dave's also the Michael Jordan of volunteers. I wouldn't be able to begin to name the numbers of boards that he's been on, number of people that he's helped out in the community. He's just a great guy, and it's nice to see him being honored. As in our own church community, Dave has chaired the Parish Staff Relations Committee. He's chaired our Public Relations Committee, our Christian Education Committee. I know he's been very active in the local foundations, United Way.
I think that being involved with the Silver Anniversary campaign for United Way was especially meaningful and relevant. I worked with some great people on that, and I think I got a lot of gratification from it.
I know he's been very active in family and children's and was very instrumental in the 75th anniversary celebration for the Council of Churches.
Dad, why was it especially important for you to work with the Broome County Council of Churches?
I had a lot of respect for the people associated with the council and enjoyed being around them and working with them. But the work we were doing was especially meaningful, and I think that was probably the largest reason I enjoyed that volunteering.
Dad, any final comments?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to all my friends in Binghamton and tell them how much I appreciate this recognition. I hope to continue to do some service in the community when time permits, but thank you very much for this particular recognition.
And how about to Penny Stringfield?
I certainly want to thank Penny Stringfield for accepting the award in my name and thank her for a long time friendship that has meant very much to me.
That's this year's community honoree, Dave Gouldin. So those are the three honorees from this year's Lives of Commitment breakfast held at the Doubletree by Hilton in downtown Binghamton. It was a scaled-back event, but still the honorees had done outstanding work in offering their time and talent and energy to help people in our community on so many different levels. And now a preview of an upcoming Encounter program. Among the many outreach ministries of the Broome County Council of Churches is the Ramp It Up program. It's a youth mentoring initiative, a volunteer mission to provide service, learning, and community involvement for youth. Here's how it works. The initiative pairs teams of youth and adult volunteers drawn from congregations and community organizations to build wheelchair ramps for homebound residents of Broome County. It's a win-win. Residents in need are provided easier home access, while the kids learn teamwork and community involvement and pride, along with basic knowledge of carpentry skills. So later this month on Encounter, Mark Kimblin will interview the director of the Ramp It Up ministry, Robert Bundy. That Encounter program will include some scenes from a recent project in Endicott, where some youth from the Endwell United Methodist Church worked alongside and learned some carpentry skills from experienced adult volunteers. The program's scheduled to air on June 27th on Encounter. Thank you for joining us for Encounter. I'm Jeff Kellam, hoping in the coming week you'll be gentle with people and, of course, with yourself. Before we go, one more visit to the Greater Good grocery store to catch up on how they're doing this year. Before we go, here's another look inside the Greater Good Grocery, new to Binghamton's North Side. It's part of the outreach of the Broome County Council of Churches. Our Encounter team visited shortly after the store opened, but we want to catch up with store manager Jack Seaman to see how things are going now.
So the north side of Binghamton for the last about 25 years has been what you'd call a food desert, meaning that there's no access to a grocery store. And we are proud to be standing right now actually in the Greater Good grocery store, which is run by the Broome County Council of Churches, and all of the proceeds actually roll right back into the Council of Churches to support its existing programs like CHOW, Faith in Action, jail ministries, and hospital ministries. We're very fortunate to actually partner with a very successful program in Utica, New York called Bargain Grocer. It's a nonprofit grocery store that's been in operation for over 12 years now, and the model is very similar to the relationship that we have with the Council of Churches. All of the food is purchased. We do not sell donated food, and of course anybody can shop here.
What's your assessment of how things are going?
So things are going pretty well over here on the north side. We're really excited to be in the community, to get to know the community, learn their needs, and really have them take ownership of this grocery store.
Sales have been what you expected?
Yeah, it's not ideal opening in the middle of a pandemic, but where we are right now is pretty much where we expected to be, and we're really hopeful that things are going to pick up. The community is going to really just receive this grocery store very well, and then of course the rest of the community hopefully will make use of this grocery store as well. Yeah, so as the weather changes, as the season changes, different produce items are available. So definitely, our produce is going to be seasonal. We're going to have certain things in stock that maybe we wouldn't normally be able to have at other times of the year. So we're really excited to partner with different distributors, different farmers, different growers to offer that to the community.
And where does the fresh food come from?
So most of the produce that we have in the store does come from Bargain Grocer in Utica. Absolutely incredible prices that we're able to pass along to our customers. Any gaps, we do partner with some wholesalers and some growers as well. So we have a staff of 6 associates, 2 assistant managers, and then a driver who's actually responsible for getting all of the inventory to the store. So not only are we happy to be here on the north side to provide a grocery store and access to affordable items, but we're hopeful that this is going to have a ripple effect throughout all of Broome County. By the profits of this grocery store going into the Broome County Council of Churches, we hope that that's going to enrich the current programs of the council like CHOW, Faith in Action, Jail Ministries, and Hospital Ministries. We are at 435 State Street on the north side of Binghamton in the Canal Plaza housing structure. Our Facebook is just facebook.com/greatergoodgrocery, and that's where you'll find updates of things we have in the store, new items, prices, sales that are going on, and different promotions. So actually our neighbors are Catholic Charities, and actually Binghamton Housing Authority has an office here as well. And our neighbors are absolutely incredible. Right above us we have 48 affordable housing apartments as well. And yeah, we're happy to be in the neighborhood.
When did you think you were going to become a manager of a grocery store?
So I have to be honest with you, growing up, I never saw myself standing where I am now. About 3.5 years ago, when the council started looking into this project, it always just brought such a smile to my face. And originally I was at the CHOW program, but more and more I became involved in it, and I was given the opportunity to take this position, and it's really, really exciting. Definitely very unique work. And I never saw myself in this position, but I'm very grateful to be here.
We've been talking with store manager Jack Seaman at the Greater Good Grocery at 435 State Street, run by the Broome County Council of Churches. Once again, thank you for joining us for Encounter. Our thanks to WBNG TV for carrying the program, and for the Town Square media stations for carrying the audio portion of our program. We'll see you again next week on Encounter.